In the shadow of Red Rocks Amphitheater is one of Colorado's greatest old towns, Morrison, Colorado. Today, Haley and I walk you around Morrison looking at the historic structures and Morrison in its vibrant self today. We walk you through the history of Morrison and we walk you through what Morrison has to do right now. This is truly going to be another Radically Colorado adventure. Join us. Before we get started here, remember we just don't make fun videos for a living. We own a real estate brokerage. If you're thinking of buying, selling, or investing in the area, please use our real estate or lending expertise. Go to symbiodenver.com. There she is backing out. She's getting hydrated for our long 15-minute drive to Morrison, Colorado. Morrison was founded in 1872 by a fellow named George Morrison, which is where the town gets its namesake from. He was originally living in Mount Vernon, which is on Lookout Mountain. There's a little community there pretty close to Buffalo Bill's grave, but he owned a bunch of ground in the Bear Creek Valley, which was really pretty and right by Red Rocks Amphitheater. He eventually got a group of investors together and they started some mines in this area that were mining things like limestone, which is rich in the area, as well as some other stuff, which brought some commerce to the area. What really put it on the map was connecting to the narrow gauge railroad line, the South Park and Pacific, which we've done another video on, which goes through the South Platte Canyon, but originally they were thinking maybe this whole railroad could go through the Bear Creek Canyon. It's a little bit easier to go through the South Platte Canyon as it connected to mining cities down there like Breckenridge, Buena Vista, etc. So it was just a little easier of a passage, but regardless, they did make a spur off of this railroad line to connect the Denver traffic into Morrison really easily. Another thing that put this on the map was dinosaurs. Dinosaurs were founded here from the Jurassic period, leading to the Colorado state fossil of the Stegosaurus. Did you know that was the state fossil? Out here. So the Stegosaurus was found, which led to the famous dinosaur wars between a couple of archaeologists in the area that were looking to unearth all these dinosaurs that were here, because the Red Rocks are actually a formation of the ancestral Rockies, and they would have been the washing away of the sediments of the Rocky Mountains that once stood here before the current younger Rocky Mountains. So the Dakota Ridge hogback was the washing away of that sediment, so it's a very good spot to find fossils, but also a really good spot to quarry and find different minerals, which became the great building blocks of the Denver region. So Morrison invested in this with notorious investor John Evans, which is what Evanston in Illinois is named after. He also founded the Denver University here in the area, was once the territorial governor of Colorado, and also did the Sand Creek Massacre and was asked to step down as governor of Colorado. But he was a big investor in this area, including in the town of Morrison. Morrison, with its picturesque location, became a great site for tourism and an easy day trip away from Denver. In fact, Denver now even owns Red Rocks Amphitheater, when another fella came along a little bit later with the last name Walker, who built a huge mansion in the mountains which burnt down. He decided to take Morrison from a mining town to a tourist town and bought the famous Evergreen Hotel that was in this area, which no longer stands. I think it was knocked down sometime in the 80s, and turned Morrison more into a tourist town than anything else. Morrison still is a tourist town. You'll see that really at the entrance to Red Rocks Amphitheater, which brings thousands and thousands of people out almost every single day from the spring until the late fall when Red Rocks is doing a bunch of concerts over there. You've been to some concert at Red Rocks, haven't you? What was your favorite?
It was Skrillex.
Skrillex, she says. I'm a String Cheese Incident fan. We might go out there next weekend for that.
Yeah, it was a 5-hour-long Skrillex concert. Just him the whole time. It was probably one of the best concerts I've ever been to.
The youth really like electronic music, and I like the jam bands that I've seen over there at Red Rocks. But regardless of your taste in music, Red Rocks does have something for all people, ranging from artists that played in the 70s to even new age artists like Skrillex. So you got to check that out. Today we're going to check out the whole town of Morrison and look at it through the lens of history. We're going to capture some of these historic structures that are in the area and allow you to walk through the beautiful town of Morrison. Right back there you see the Dakota Ridge Hogback. We're behind this very slow Route 4. As you follow 470, people don't really know how to drive on this road here. Before the settlers came in the late 19th century to this area, it was a spot, Willowbrook, the neighborhood right by Morrison, and Morrison was hunting ground for the Ute Indians. And they think that people had been here for as long, if not longer, than the year 6000 BCE. So for at least 8,000 years, people have inhabited this area behind the Dakota Ridge Hogback because it has an oceanic climate. It's a great spot to winter. And there's a couple of theories that either the Utes lived here year-round, depending on the spot in history, or in the time of Colorado, who was a famous Ute chief during the late 19th century, that hunted in these grounds even when the settlers were here, was friendly towards settlers and then not so friendly towards settlers because they weren't friendly towards him, would go to the South Park region during the summer as it's a little bit cooler there. There's good hunting there. And then would come down to this area around Willowbrook where there's Colorado's Cave and would stay in these red rock formations, which make some natural structures, and then hunt in these areas. There's all sorts of wildlife, deer, turkey, elk in these areas that make it great. I'm gonna turn the camera around here because you can see red rocks behind the Hogback formation there. And you can see how those formed by the erosion of sediment that would have gotten caught up by that hogback, and then water would have come in and left, and then eventually compressed these beautiful sandstone structures, which forms a natural sound amphitheater, which not only has concerts today, but also had ancient Native American rituals for thousands of years. Aside, you have the Soda Lakes, which is one of the natural lake formations around the Morrison area, and very busy today as it's 4th of July with hundreds of paddleboarders. All right, we're getting out here at the beginning of the town of Morrison. Found a great parking spot.
Yeah, I did it.
You did great. Well, we're doing great. Nice, cool 4th of July day. I'd say it's upper 70s, lower 80s.
Yeah, it's not bad.
Really nice.
It's not blazing hot.
But a cool older building. We're gonna stop here later and get some wings, right?
Yeah,
It's her favorite wing spot.
Willie's wings.
She loves it.
Yeah, they're really good.
Yeah, just a small little trailer there. Our first historic stop here is right by the Morrison Church, which was built in 1885, and the house next door to it as well, which you'll see here. I couldn't find much history on this place, but this is a great spot that functions as a wedding venue, as well as does Sunday services and holiday services here. So if you want to get that old 1800s Whitechapel feel, there's no better spot to stop than here. Yeah, here we are. Going court. I don't know where it's at. Turn around. The Red Rocks Beer Garden.
We'll say this is a good place.
Never, it's a good place. $2 off your first drink with us. That's how they get you. This road here, you go that way, get you to Red Rocks. You can kind of see one of the Red Rocks back there. An old building here on Stone Street. More like Stoned Street ever since weed got legalized here. Am I right? Into the Cliff House. And this is one of the OG hotels here. We're gonna get close to it. This is what made this a tourist town, and made out of the red stone, sandstone that was here. And what Walker would have bought. He traded the land for where Regis is at now, because this was the beginning of what is Regis University, and then a St. Mary's of the Heart.
Oh, you used to have those flags.
Tibetan prayer flags. Think we can walk in there?
Probably.
First, I gotta say the people at the Cliff House were super nice in allowing us to film in here, and offered up history for us and told us about all of the resident artists as well as some of the other artists that were presenting in this building. This was actually on this side. It's the 1873 side, which you'll see on the doors as we film here in a little bit. Half was built in 1873 and the other half was built in 1890. And in 1873 was actually built as George Morrison's house. He was a local quarry person and stonemason, so he used that local sandstone to quarry this. Upon Morrison's death in 1895, John Swanson purchased and officially named it the Cliff House Lodge after the Morrison Cliffs, the rock formations that overlook the estate. He made the lodge at that time a boarding house, which was renowned for its fine food, great rooms, and charming garden. I also read that it was known for its Sunday concerts. So before Red Rocks Amphitheater existed, which is a stone's throw away from here, Morrison was a hoppin' musical town because of the Cliff House Lodge here. We really loved the architecture of this place. This was its sun porch, which was really neat. They let us know that there is a resident artist living here who did a lot of this work, but a lot of the art that you see that illuminates is from one of the artists that did the installations at Meow Wolf, which is in Denver, and is a really cool immersive art exhibit. The Cliff House Lodge has gone through several owners. In 1932, Charles Austrian acquired the lodge and further developed the room and board. By the 40s, all of the surrounding cottages were built, extending accommodations to frequent travelers. Peggy Hahn became proprietor in 1976. She turned the cottages into shops, and by the 1980s revised them into hot tub-themed rooms, which we still have today. In 2006, Odell Fraser Bullington purchased and continues to grow the legacy of the special bed and breakfast. Cliff House Lodge is a prime destination during summer concert seasons at Red Rocks Amphitheater, and a beloved winter haven for the relaxing hot tub soaking and homemade breakfast that they offer here. So if you're in the area, this is a great place to stay if you're going to a concert or any time of year. Alright, now we're walking back into town. There's the town hall. The town hall was built in 1896 by Woodmen of the World, later acquired by the Women of Woodcraft, and finally donated to the town by the Booster Club in the 1950s, and then renovated in 1995. Alright, we're turning in here on the 300th block of Bear Creek Avenue, which has the famous Morrison Inn on 303 and 305 Bear Creek Avenue. So let's go over some of these right here on 301, where we turned in. That was in 1880. It was built, burnt down in 1990. It had to be repaired and became a dance hall after that. After the 1938 flood, the Schneiders continued the drugstore business here, and until 1973 became part of the Morrison Inn. This whole block is the Morrison Inn. 303 and 305 Bear Creek Avenue was Henry F. Wolf's pool hall, tobacco, and barbershop. What a combination of three things there. And that was built in 1880. Mercantile owned it by the name of Levi H. McGill. In 1892, he bought it. And then Pike and Perry in 1906 bought it, and now, of course, it's part of the Morrison Inn. By 307 Bear Creek Avenue, which is a gift shop. It was known as Pete Christensen's shop, built in 1876 by Pete Christensen, who named and building date are still on the building today. Alright, now we're going to walk by 311 Bear Creek Avenue, which was a two-story frame building with stairs outside like you see in all the Western movies. That building actually burnt down in 1931 and originally functioned as Schneider's Groceries, Restaurants, and Rooms. In 1931, it was replaced by the present brick building, which is now Sundance Sensations. It's a little gift emporium, which there's a lot of this going on in Morrison. Welcome now to the 400th block of Bear Creek Avenue. Here at 401 Bear Creek Avenue, we've got a great burger restaurant with amazing milkshakes now, but back in 1880, it was built as Morrison Bank. It was built of native brick and served as a bank until 1920. A beauty shop occupied the east side from 1945 to 1980, and now, like I said, there is a great burger restaurant in there. Walking by the Morrison Holiday Bar now, which is a great spot to get drinks, local dive bar here. But back in the day, 408 Bear Creek Avenue from 1889 to 1917 was the site of Morrison's newspapers, and there were 4 of them. They were called the Bud, the Jefferson, Morrison Independent, and the Morrison Monitor.
Oh, it's a 6. 1996.
Yeah. I'm like, why is this side built 2 years sooner? Walk across Bear Creek Avenue on Park Avenue towards Cottage and Spring Street, and you'll see a lot of the homes that were built in the 1870s to 1890s. A lot of this town has a beautiful walk along Bear Creek, so soak in that. And here you see the old school bell, which was on the school on Spring Street, which we're going to go look at here in a second. The school is now a private residence, which is what this plaque's saying here, but they kept the old bell. Alright, now most important, we gotta go across to Blue Cow Eatery and get some soft serve ice cream. Prices are great here, food's great here, and the soft serve hit the spot on the 4th of July. Right?
Hi. Could I please do the vanilla chocolate swirl soft serve cone?
Yeah, what size?
What are
They're right there for that house. We have kids, small, medium, large.
Let's do a small.
Yeah. Great day.
You too. Oh my god.
Wow,
I've
what
been
size is
wanting
that?
Small.
Oh my gosh.
I think she hooked it up.
She definitely did. There's a happy girl.
Uh-huh. So good.
Alright, now you can see the other side of the block on Bear Creek Avenue that we went over the history on, get a little bit better perspective on those buildings over there from the Morrison Inn and onwards that we just described. Alright, now we're checking out the 200 block of Bear Creek Avenue. There's some historic buildings here, starting with 215, which is Tony Riccatoni's restaurant. It was built in 1890 as Dean's Grocery Store, became an Episcopal Sunday school on Sundays, and later it was Penzay's Grocery Store. 209 and 211 was a hardware and lumber company built by John Ross in 1876 out of native stone. 205 Bear Creek Avenue was Tom Lewis's home, built in 1879, and Lewis ran a livery stable in Morrison. And 201 was Morrison Market, now the Morrison Mercantile, was built in 1880, first occupied by Judge Babcock, the judge of the town, and was later a meat market ran by Tom Morrison, the son of George himself. Alright, now we're walking into 120 Bear Creek Avenue, which was built in 1880, is now Meadow Suite, but was originally the Amos home. Super cool store, a bunch of botanicals and crystals in here. I think Morrison might have more crystals per capita than any other town in the United States. Also some cute t-shirts and some cute baby clothes, which we can never resist looking at. Here's the Morrison Schoolhouse at 226 Spring Street. Told you we'd show it to you. This is the building that had the bell on it. This was also built by George Morrison in 1875. And it actually continued in academic use until 1955. It now has a really neat remodel and is a private residence. I'd have to say, this would not be a place that I would mind living, with the horses right behind the schoolhouse and one of the most historically significant buildings here in Morrison. Driving on Spring Street here, you can see a bunch of other houses that were built in that 1870 to 1890 era. I've got the link to where I'm finding all of this great stuff on the history of all these buildings below. In case you want to find out the history on any particular building, I'll put that in our YouTube description, so make sure to check that out here. But we're going to go around to the other side of the schoolhouse. so we can see those cute horsies that are right behind it, and we can get you another angle on this thing. There's no going to Morrison without going to Red Rocks, and odds are if you've gone to a show here, you probably ended up in Morrison before or after. This is a great spot in Denver that has a lot of great hiking trails, so it's not only a concert venue, but is open space for all of the Denver community to enjoy. And it sits right in the shadow of Morrison, as you can see here. It was given to the city in the 1930s and turned into an amphitheater, which was a big dream of good old Johnny Walker, who turned this into a tourist town.
The bug landed, but the bug's on me. Can you get it?
Good job. That was a neat looking bug. Oh my god. The beetle.
Yeah, it's just a beetle.
We're going to walk into the trading post here, which now serves as a gift store in Red Rocks, or a place where you can go to the bathroom on the way out of a show and not have to wait in those long lines. In some of the late 19th and early 20th century maps, you would have seen this called Garden of the Titans. In 1906, Johnny Walker spent $150K to create Garden of the Titans amusement park, which included a railroad that went up to Mount Morrison, which brought people in. In 1911, there was kind of their first concert with the soprano there. In 1927, Denver bought Red Rocks for $50,000. By 1930, they put a road in, and by 1931, they installed this building, which looked like an Indian trading post. It was a two-story Pueblo Revival style structure, which is now a gift shop, as you can see. By 1935, the Morrison Civilian Conservation Corps camp is established to put unemployed 17 to 25-year-old people to work, which is when Red Rocks Amphitheater was constructed in this area, and now you can see all sorts of great concerts here. The trading post, which we're in right now, serves as an event space also. They were getting ready, setting up a wedding outside of it right now, but there have truly been some iconic musicians that have played here, from the Beatles to Jimi Hendrix to the two artists that we talked about at the beginning of this. Red Rocks continues to be a vibrant place and will continue to be so for a long, long time in the Denver area, is our hope. So if you're in the Denver area and you enjoy hiking or you enjoy music, this is the place to go. Of course, we had to stop at Willie's Wings on the way home so we could get our grub on at one of Haley's favorite spots and one of my favorite spots as well. I hope you enjoyed our video on Morrison. Make sure to check us out at symbiodenver.com.